For the Unit 6 Day 1 and Day 2 review, you're going to probably want your notes packet to refer to the chart on Day 1 notes. Make sure you put your name on your paper. And at the bottom it does tell you where to locate this video. Okay, so my plan is I would like to do an example of each one with you. So for number 1, we need to put this in standard form. So we look for the highest exponent, or like the highest degree, and it would be a 2. So that term has no other like term with it. So I would take the 5x squared and I would bring it down first because it has the biggest exponent 2. Okay, and then I would look 7 and 3x. So the next exponent would be 3x because there's a little 1 here. And then lastly we have a 7, which is a constant, which has no variable, so it would be the last one. Then in your notes you have a chart that we have filled out, this chart here. So it says the degree. The degree is your exponent. So my highest exponent is a 2. So a degree of 2 is a quadratic. Okay. Then the term, how many terms do I have here? I've got 1, 2, 3. So by term, a 3 is a trinomial. So I have 3 terms, and that's a trinomial. So going through the rest of 1 through 10, you're rearranging, and then you're naming it by the highest exponent degree, and then how many terms do you have? And then also look at the chart for that. It tells you here, use chart in Day 1 notes. So I would pause the video at this point and finish 1 through 10, and then play when you're ready for the next section. Okay, now at the bottom, I was going to do a few different examples of division. So for number 11, you can see that it says divide the polynomials and then classify the polynomial by degree and term. So for this one, if we have 18 and the 2, you're dividing that. So 18 divided by 2 is 9. And then your exponents you're subtracting. So the x to the 5th and x to the 3rd, 5 minus 3 makes x squared. Then we divide this, so 12 divided by 2 is 6. And 4 minus 3 is x to the 1st. But normally we don't actually write the 1. So I'm not going to put the 1 there. Then we have negative 14 divided by 2, which is negative 7. 3 minus 3 is 0. So if there is a 0, we don't write that, because x to the 0 would be 1. And negative 7 times 1 is still negative 7. So really, I just need to keep the negative 7 there, and that's it. So then naming it by degree, we're looking at that highest exponent, which is 2. And according to that chart, a degree of 2 is quadratic. So I would fill this in. Okay, the term, how many terms do I have? 1, 2, 3. Okay, again, on the chart, I go to terms, 3, and that's a trinomial. So you have to remember, you are dividing your 18 and your 2 like your big numbers here, but you are subtracting your exponents. Okay, I also would like to do another example of this one before I let you work for a little bit. So go ahead and flip over to number 13. Okay, I'm going to do 13 and 14 with you and then let you work on division. So for 13, we take this monomial, this one term, and we put it underneath the trinomial. Okay, and now we don't need that anymore. So now we are doing the same thing, dividing and subtracting. So 14 divided by 7 would be 2. 5 minus 3 is x to the 2nd power. 21 divided by 7 is 3. And then 4 minus 3 is x to the 1st. Again, I'm not going to write that 1. And then lastly, 28 divided by 7 is 4. 3 minus 3 is 0, so I don't write that. For degree, we're looking at the highest exponent, which is a 2. Okay, on the chart, a 2 is a quadratic. And we have 1, 2, 3 terms, which is a trinomial. Okay? For number 14, again, we're going to have to divide and subtract. So 35 divided by 5 is 7. 9 minus 5 gives me x to the 4th. Then 10 divided by 5 is 2. Then we have 8 minus 5, and that would give me x to the 3rd. And then negative 40 divided by 5 is negative 8. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Well, this here, oh, I just realized we couldn't see it. So this here gives us a situation with a negative exponent, which we can't have that. So this is what I wrote. I'm going to erase it here and show you how to rewrite it. So we would do minus. We're going to move this to the bottom of the fraction, like we did when we did exponent rules. Same thing, can't have a negative exponent. So we have a minus 8 over x to the positive 2. Okay, so now, for degree, we're looking at that biggest exponent, which is a 4. And on the chart, a degree of 4 is called a quartic. So I would say quartic. And we have 1, 2, 3 terms, and that's still a trinomial. Okay, so if we look quickly here, the previous page, number 11 we just did. So I did 11, 13, and 14. You need to finish 12 through 22. And then when you are done with that section, go ahead and hit play again, and I'm going to show you number 23. Okay, for number 23, we're going to do the very similar. We're still going to divide our 81 and our 9. So our big numbers we're dividing, and then we are subtracting. And we're going to subtract twice. So we're going to divide, subtract our x's, and then subtract our y's. So 81 divided by 9 is 9. The x's, 7 minus 3 is x to the 4th. For the y's, there's an invisible 1 here. So 4 minus 1 is 3. 27 divided by 9 is 3. Then we have our x's, so 5 minus 3 is 2. For our y's, 3 minus 1 is 2. Negative 81 divided by 9 is negative 9. Then we have 3 minus 3, which makes 0, so I don't write the x. And then 1 minus 1 makes 0, so I don't write the y. So that is my final solution. Now, for this section, it goes from 23 to 28. So I would pause and I would complete until 28. And then once you're done with 28, go ahead and replay, starting with 29. Okay, so for 29, it says find the greatest common factor and then factor it out. So in this answer, we're looking for the monomial that we factored out, which is called your GCF. And then in parentheses, we want to have what is left over when you divide by that monomial. So let's look at that. So 21, 7, and 14. If you do not know what the GCF of those three are, you could do the upside down birthday cake method. So I take the three numbers and I figure out what number goes into all of those evenly. Okay, well I know a 3 can go into 21. Can a 3 go into 7? No, not evenly. So I keep thinking of other numbers like, okay, well 7 can also go into 21. Can it go into 7? Yep. Can it go into 14? Yep. So I put the 7 out. I take 7 goes into 21 3 times. That's just like saying 21 divided by 7 is 3. 7 goes into 7 one time. Same thing, 7 divided by 7 is 1. And then 7 goes into 14 two times. Same thing as saying 14 divided by 7 is 2. Okay, so now, can anything go into 3, 1, and 2 evenly? Well, the only thing that can do is a 1. So if I divide a 1, or divide by 1, I'm going to get the same numbers here. 3 divided by 1 is 3, 1 divided by 1 is 1, 2 divided by 1 is 2. So I get the same numbers. So I multiply 7 times 1, and 7 is my GCF for this right here. So that's just the number part. I look, do I have an x in every single term? And the answer is yes. If there is an x in every single term, I take out the lowest x. Okay? So that would be just x. So right now, my GCF is 7x. Then I want to factor it out, which means in this case you're dividing it out. So 21 divided by 7 is 3. 3 minus 1 is x to the second power. 7 divided by 7 is 1. And 2 minus 1 is x to the first. 14 divided by 7 is 2. And 1 minus 1 is 0, so I don't write that. Now, I would accept this answer, but I also want you to understand that most times you're not going to see someone write a 1. So if it's like a multiple choice question, it would not have those 1s listed. But when I look at this, I know there's a 1 in front of it. I also know there's a 1 up here for the exponent. Okay? Let's do one more problem like that. Okay, let's look at number 40. Okay, so number 40, we have 4 different numbers. Okay, so looking at the 4 numbers, we have to decide, is there a number that can divide into all 3 of these numbers evenly? And I know 1 does. I was going to try 2, but this is the only even number we have. So 2 cannot go into any of these. So let's try 3. Okay, 3 goes into 18 6 times. So 18 divided by 3 is 6. That works. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 21 divided by 3 is 7. Okay, now, can any number go into 6, 5, 1, and 7? Well, if I look at this, my smallest number is a 1. So the only number that can go into all 4 numbers evenly is 1. And 6 divided by 1 is 6, 5 divided by 1 is 5, 1 divided by 1 is 1, and 7 divided by 1 is 7. So we know that 1 is the only number there. So I take 3 times 1, and I get 3. And that's my GCF for number 40. So I divide by 3. Okay, now I look. Does every term have an x? Yes, it does. Every single term had an x. So the lowest x is what I take out. So my GCF is 3x to the third. Now, I have to divide by that 3x to the third. So 18 divided by 3 is 6. 6 divided by 3, 6 minus 3 is x to the third. Negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. 5 minus 3 is x to the second power. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 3 minus 3 is 0. And I don't need to write the 0, so I close my parenthesis. And again, I don't need those 1s, so I'm going to get rid of them, but keep that x there And then that is it.